And this is a movie from the 70s that has a pretty long title, and I'm not up on my French, so forgive me.
No.
Sorry. But it normally goes by a much shorter title, just in reference. And the movie is Jeanne Dielman, 23 Commerce Quai, 1080 Brussels.
That's the movie?
Yeah.
Okay, get out your pens. Can you repeat that?
Say it again slowly so Google can hear it.
Okay. Google, search for... Well, and normally it just goes by, like, Jeanne Dielman. Jeanne space, capital D-I-E-M... wait, sorry, scratch that. Dielman. Anyway, so this is a movie by a filmmaker that we actually only just lost a couple of years ago, Chantal Akerman, who is renowned for making female-centric cinema as early as like the 60s and 70s. I want to say 60s, but definitely in the 70s and later. So anyway, Jeanne Dielman is a story about a sad, lonely, single mother living in France with her son, and just about her trying to get through her daily life. What makes this piece interesting and strangely compelling is the pace it chooses to go with it, because one of the points of the film is to really showcase how dull and a drag her life is. And so this movie, like, if you like long shots, this movie is nothing but long shots, but it's static shots. And so she'll be making dinner, and you'll see her do everything from preparing the food to cooking the food to plating the food. She'll bring it out to the dinner table. She'll have dinner with her son and have awkward small talk with him. Then once they finish that portion, she'll go back in the kitchen, grab the next set of food, and sit down with her son and continue to have awkward conversation with him. And it goes on like that, but the thing about the way that it's executed is strangely compelling.
I'm so intrigued.
Yeah. And it kind of leans on this concept and idea so much that the movie is actually 200 minutes long.
Wait, what?
And I mean, like, it's not purely just scenes like that. Like, there are actual scenes where there's actually something going on. Like, she's having a conversation with someone. She goes to the store. But, like, so much of it's really hard to explain why this is such a great and even unique, especially unique experience, simply because it's so out there and so different, but you really get the idea of what the filmmakers were going for when you actually experience this woman's life firsthand, because that's part of the thing, is that, like, anyone can say, oh yeah, they got a boring, lame life, and show a few snippets of it, but you don't really always feel it. You don't really always feel it. Yeah. But this movie, like, really, like, it's a level. It's more about immersion. It's a level of immersion that is compelling in a way that's just that just can't be told to you. It's actually shown to you. So, oh yeah, I'll type it up for
you. So you mentioning, like, the pacing and the way these scenes are and how they bring out every moment of the scene, like what happened in reality. The question I have for you then is, how does the cinematography of the movie play into that? Does that make it more, better, worse? Or?
Actually, I think it makes it better, because I know you guys talked a lot about the cinematography of Goodnight Mommy and how it barely moves. I don't, in this movie's entire 3.5 hour runtime, I don't think I saw the camera pan once.
She's locked off the whole time.
It's purely static shots.
Is it a lot of cuts, or is it like they allow the scenes to breathe more? Or?
Oh, I mean, this movie is so full of breath, like that you'll never. The whole movie is just a slow. Actually, in a way, it's almost like watching this movie is almost like a meditation. Because, like, you get so much room to just take in everything and, like, really get to know this character in the same way that you might get to know someone on a personal level. Like,
what? It's on Filmstruck.
It's a Criterion.
I suppose.
So that would make sense. It's almost like you get to know this person in the same way that you would get to know a new person you just met. Like, you wouldn't necessarily put together a movie of an 8-hour shift where you just met your new coworker that you have awkward small talk with throughout the day, but you kind of get to know this person, and it's a very unique experience because you got to spend such a long time with them. one thing about some shorter movies is that you're with them so briefly, and yes, you can still have very compelling relationships with characters on screen, but you kind of feel like there's something missing along the way, whereas, like, even in the small things that she does non-verbally, like, there is legitimately a scene where she is sitting in a chair thinking about her life, not saying a thing, not even looking at the camera, but you just see the way that she's breathing, the way that she's contemplating things in her performance. But it's a static shot of a woman sitting on a chair, practically lifeless, thinking about her life. And you can read so much more about what's going on in her life than what someone's monologue might have even said. But
Ben,
like, it's so weird though, because like I've watched like epics, like, you know, even like sword and sandal epics that aren't even at that long,
Yeah.
or like even like Lord of the Rings. Sometimes I'm just like, okay, I get it, let's move on. But like, but this one, I was just sitting there, just like I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. Like it was so weird, like how I just was like, no, tell me more. Like keep going. Like
Make another meal.
like, you know, like what's going on? Like what's next? You know, it's so interesting. Like why is your son so weird and distant? Like why are you acting this way? Like I want to know more. And you're just because it actually kind of feels like real life. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm kind of like understanding it more, talking about it. I feel like I'm in therapy.
Well, what it sounds like to me, it sounds like it's more of a character study
Oh, yeah.
put to film versus a story that's going to be like, well, you said like Lord of the Rings, this grand epic, or or even comparing it to something that's so epic, Bicycle Thieves, where this guy's bike got stolen. Now he's got to figure out what to do for his family. It's like, well, that's still a more. I mean, and I'm not trying to rip this movie at all, but that seems like
I understand
a
what you're
more
saying.
compelling and more like, oh, I can see that story happening. Whereas this, it's like you can't really pitch a story because you're pitching a character in a life. So, Dan, would you like to attempt to say the title again?
Yeah, Jeanne Dielman.
The full title.
I always have to refer to it because I can never remember its full title, because you just refer to it by Jeanne Dielman. And I would really encourage people to check out Chantal Akerman's, I think that's how you say her name. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm not up on my French. She has really fascinating works. And one thing I've been meaning to revisit is I recently picked up her box set, Chantal Akerman's early years through Criterion. And it's like got all these early films she made, these like experimental films, like art pieces, and it's like it kind of helps inform how she got to the idea of where she is. And I really want to explore more of it, especially since it's female-centric cinema without like feeling political. It just feels natural. And so I really want to explore more of her work because I'm fascinated by that idea. But yeah, the full title is Jeanne Dielman, 23 Commerce Quai, 1080 Brussels. Or you can go to criterion.com and type in JEANNE space DIELMAN.
Great.